I'll be honest with you, the worst night of my life started in the cleanest place I owned, my garage. To me, that little two-car space wasn't just concrete and tools, it was a sanctuary. Every wrench had its outline on the pegboard, every socket sat in its foam tray like soldiers waiting for orders, and my old '68 Charger gleamed under the lights like a dark green jewel passed down from my dad. I could smell the mix of leather, gasoline, and a little bit of his memory every time I walked in. That night, I was just tightening lug nuts, click, 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 keeping rhythm with my own thoughts, when I heard the low hum of a sedan, not a neighbor's SUV, not a pizza delivery. It was deeper, official. Two men in suits stepped out. One stayed by the car, scanning like he'd been trained for it. The other walked straight to me. Calm eyes, professional tone. "Mr. Harris?" "That's me." Governor Price would like a word. My stomach dropped. I thought maybe an auditor at best, never the governor himself. Then the back door opened, and there he was. Older than TV made him look, but steady, carrying my envelope of photocopies. Proof that our HOA Queen Bee, Linda Watkins, had been running a scam with her developer buddy. Property lines shaved down, invoices padded, neighbors robbed blind without knowing it. And now, the governor was in my garage, telling me I'd cracked something they'd chased for years. For a second, I thought maybe the world was finally tilting in the right direction. Then came the sirens. Red and blue poured into our quiet cul-de-sac like a storm, cruisers skidding, headlights pinning us. Officers jumped out, guns drawn, shouting over each other. "Hands up." On the ground. The sergeant barked something about bombs and rifles, and an ambush. My heart sank. I knew exactly whose fingerprints were on that call. Linda. Just last week, she cited me for leaving my garage door open after 10, said I was lowering property values. Tonight, she turned pettiness into terrorism, dialing 911 and feeding them a story about militias and explosives. One rookie cop, still fresh from the academy, led the charge. Sweat glistened under the lights, his pistol locked in a death grip. He stepped into my garage, boot landing squarely in a slick puddle of oil I'd missed. Time slowed. His feet shot out, arms flailed, and his fingers slipped on the trigger. The crack echoed like thunder in a cathedral. For a second, nobody breathed. Then the governor groaned, hand pressed to his side, white shirt blooming red. Peters, the agent, caught him before he hit the ground. And across the street, standing smug on her perfect lawn, Linda was watching with her phone in hand like it was her own private show, until the smile drained and she realized what she'd just caused. Chaos split the air, local cops panicking, protection detail moving like a machine. The medic dropped to the floor, barking orders. "You! Hands here, press down, don't let go." I wanted to freeze, but my body obeyed. The blood was hot under my palms, the gauze spongy, and the governor's pulse faint but there. My wife, Marcy, appeared in the doorway, eyes wide but steady. While I was pressing life back into the man, she slipped her phone out, tapped into the police frequency. Of course she had a scanner app, and within minutes she had the 911 call. And she didn't stop there. While neighbors gathered, while cops still yelled, Marcy mirrored her phone to the big TV inside our living room, door wide open so the whole street could see. First came the recording. Linda's shrill voice, hysterical lies about rifles and bombs, and dangerous men in the garage. The crowd gasped. Officers froze, realizing they'd been played. Then came the rookie's body cam feed. Him slipping, the accidental discharge. The truth blasted out of our surround sound system for everyone to hear. And just like that, the narrative flipped. I wasn't the bad guy anymore. I was the neighbor fighting to save a bleeding governor while my wife exposed the queen bee for the fraud she really was. From there, the storm only grew. The governor survived surgery. My envelope became the smoking gun. Maps altered, money laundered, kickbacks deposited straight into Linda's shell company. Her developer partner, Raymond Cross, even tried to grab my briefcase in a parking garage like some kind of bad movie villain. I dropped him with a left hook I didn't even know I had, and the state troopers gladly slapped cuffs on him. But back home, Linda still strutted around, technically HOA president until charges landed. That's when Marcy had an idea. If Linda built her little kingdom with bylaws and fines, we'd turn her own rulebook into a weapon. So the email started. Violation. Porch sign painted the wrong shade of blue. Fine. Garbage bins left out past 8 p.m. citation. seasonal flag still hanging past November. Each message copied to every homeowner, written in the same cold language Linda had used on all of us for years. Neighbors caught on quick. Thumbs up emojis, laughter, relief. Then came the video. Our neighbor Phil caught Linda on his doorbell camera, screaming that she was the HOA while tearing into us on our lawn. That footage landed in every inbox, and whatever shred of authority she clung to collapsed overnight. The final act came at the emergency meeting. The clubhouse packed, neighbors buzzing, and Linda sitting at the head of the table with her mask of composure glued on. She opened her mouth to talk about rumors and misinformation, but the doors swung open, and in marched state troopers with an investigator holding a warrant. Linda Watkins, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and money laundering. The look on her face, shock, rage, disbelief, all at once. They cuffed her right there in front of everyone, the same way she'd humiliated neighbors for years, and the room erupted in cheers. Her treasurer followed her out in cuffs too. You'd think I felt triumph, but honestly, it was more like relief. Relief that the nightmare was finally breaking, that our little lakeside street could breathe again. Weeks later the governor called us in, thinner but alive, thanking me for pressing down on that wound, thanking Marcy for grabbing the story before the lies stuck. He told us we hadn't just saved his life, we'd ripped open a whole network of corruption, campaign money, permits, favors, more than we ever imagined. Now when I step into my garage, the floor is spotless again, the charger gleams, and the tools hang just where they belong. But I don't see it the same way anymore. I used to think power came from titles, from money, from people like Linda who acted untouchable. Now I know power comes from truth, from paperwork, from a steady hand on a wound, and a wife who knows how to flip the narrative. And here's where I leave it with you. Do you think justice was really served? Or was this just one battle in a war that never ends? Should neighbors who abuse power face public humiliation? Or does that make us know better than them? I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment, share this with a friend who's dealt with HOA nightmares or petty tyrants, and let's talk about it. Because in the end, this wasn't just my fight. It's a story about all of us, about what happens when ordinary people finally push back.